ready.
What the fuck?
Hello.
Hello and welcome to the final round. Special guest, Beto Jack. Co-host Nick Blomgren. Your host, Stephan Bonnar. And hey, we have no UFC to review, so we're going to talk some boxing for a change.
Is that
what do you say, Jack?
How do you say your whole name?
Beto Jack,
Beto
Ripper. That's my nickname, the Ripper.
The Ripper.
I thought Beto Jack was a nickname.
Maybe.
Kinda? So you got a double nickname.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I probably got a Ripper from ripping people's teeth out of their head.
Is that right?
That's what I heard.
Josh the dentist.
I saw the last fight where the teeth
fairy.
came flying out.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's talk about that. If y'all don't know, Jack is the middleweight, right? Not super middleweight. Super middleweight.
Now I'm going to be a light heavyweight.
Super middleweight, moving up to light heavyweight. That's 178, huh?
75.
175.
No weight cut on that, huh?
A little bit, but not that much.
Not like you rip how many pounds off?
What did I weigh the morning of weigh-ins for Tito?
224, right?
224. Got to 205 in 8 hours. That is something that will never be replicated. And that's something you don't want to do on your last fight of the career. You want to do that in your 20s when you're young, so you can bounce back from it. But Jack, you don't have the best luck when it comes to decisions, huh? I thought I had bad luck with decisions. I was looking at some of your fights here. You got 3 draws on your record, and I know Floyd Sr. and Jr. were really upset about that last draw.
Yeah, I mean, I outlanded my opponent in every round except the first 2 rounds.
And you had his teeth knocked out.
Yeah, knocked him down, and I broke his nose, his eardrum, his teeth, everything. And,
Do you think that just corrupt New York for you?
I don't know. I'd rather fight here in Vegas, to be honest.
Me too.
Yeah, you start looking at a guy and he's got 3 draws in a row.
2 in a row.
Well, 2 in a row, but 3 overall.
3
Yeah.
overall, 2 in a row.
And the other
you
one-
start thinking about, hey, what's going on here? What, this guy can't get a break?
The draw before that was the guy that was even worse. Plus the guy got caught with steroids, so they're gonna change that draw.
Oh, so that
But,
should be
yeah.
reversed to a disqualification, right?
Yeah,
Or
either
something like
disqualification
that. Or no
loss
contest.
for him or a no decision.
No contest. Yeah. So
We'll see.
he got
Those guys
popped for
and those
juicing. But
steroids.
now that you're moving up the light heavyweight, huh? What about going on the little gravy?
Yeah, that's why I gotta.
You gotta talk to my
Gotta go
boy
eat a little.
Baroni.
Get you hooked up on the sauce.
Yeah.
You could probably do IVs too.
That's right. Although they test for those now. Are IVs still legal in boxing?
No, I don't think.
They're illegal?
Yeah, I think you saw that they don't allow it now.
Yeah, because now in the UFC, no more IVs.
No.
They test for plastics,
Yeah.
and they can tell if you've had an IV.
So
Yeah.
you're a real good friend with Andreas Spang, one of our
Yeah.
training partners over at the gym.
Exactly.
And
So do you know him from back home in Sweden?
Yeah, I know him from back home.
Oh, wow.
did he have some? Did he help get you out here?
Yeah, he helped me a little bit here. Yeah. Not to get me out here, but he, I was new in town, and he's the only guy I knew from my country that lived here. So, from Sweden. Yeah,
He's
so
a-
he
he's
helped
a
me
good-
out
he's a good man.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
And do you train over at Mayweather's gym?
Mayweather's gym, yep, every day.
And now Roger doesn't train Floyd anymore, right? Is it Floyd Sr. training him now?
Floyd Sr. is the head trainer, but
Because Roger can't hold anymore, right?
Yeah,
It's
he hold the mitts.
Yeah, Roger could hold?
Yeah, Roger still hold the mitts for Floyd, but he's retired now. So unless
He gets another 50
yeah,
million.
yeah,
That'll bring you out real quick.
150 million hours.
Whatever. I lose count after a while once you go to a certain limit. So big fight this weekend. Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman. I watched the press conference. Things got a little heated because everyone heard about Danny Garcia's father's racist remarks. And then I watched it to hear because I was expecting him to stand up and say like, Keith Thurman, you effing N-word this, but he was saying like, nah man, use a bitch, N-word, use a bitch, and he was kind of talking a little jivey. It wasn't as like racially. It was more like,
street talk.
Yeah, it was more street talk to me than full out racism. What do you think of that?
To be honest, I didn't see. I haven't seen that press conference. I heard about it, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, I mean, I guess they try to hype up the fight. I don't know.
It's
That's a hell of a way to hype it up.
Yeah.
It's something interesting to see when the fighter who's fighting is actually holding back his old man.
Yeah.
His old man back.
The old man got a little excited.
Yeah, completely get his ass kicked by Keith Thurman. And I was kind of going for Danny Garcia until I saw that. Now I'm like, I like the way Keith Thurman handled himself in there. You know,
Yeah, he kept it
just
professional.
He kept it professional. He just said, your son's getting knocked out, no disrespect. But then at the end, Danny Garcia's father kind of tried to smooth things over by saying, what I do like about you is that you are a citizen. If you were an immigrant, I'd really hate you. But since you're a citizen and you're from this country, I don't hate you as much. So Danny Garcia's father is in full-fledged supporter of Trump. Just like our good friend Amir Abdallah.
Yeah.
So, let's check out the odds on this fight, though. Right now, Keith Thurman's minus 200 favorite. Are you surprised?
No, not really. He's undefeated, right?
Yeah. He's, 20. What is he?
They're both undefeated. But
He's 27-0, and
I thought he was 33-0. Well, one of them's one's 27-0. The other's
Danny's
33-0. Yeah. All right, but he's got a higher knockout percentage. Right. Keith Thurman's probably the bigger puncher. Is that what you'd say?
Maybe because Danny coming up in weight. He moved up, I think, 2 fights ago. But I kind of like Danny in this fight.
You think?
I know him a little bit as a person. I don't know Keith Thurman, but it's a 50-50 fight. But he's a little bit like myself. He's like an underrated fighter. Everybody write him out, but he keep beating, big names.
Now, do you think Danny's going to try to turn this into, a typical Mexican style, get in your face type of war, or
Puerto Rican?
Or sorry, Puerto Rican. Or is Keith Thurman, do you think he's a slicker boxer and he's going to be the one on the outside trying to outpoint?
Yeah, he's definitely he got better footwork, better movement.
He's slicker.
Yeah, he's slicker. Yeah, I believe so. But Danny's not bad either, and he can really punch too.
Moving up in weight, you're moving up in weight. Do you think that's going to affect any power or anything?
It could. Some fighters are better when they moved up. They don't have to cut that much weight. They could take a punch better. They got more energy. They're stronger. And some people are just too small. It's not for them. But
so you used to fight middleweight, right?
I used to fight super middleweight. So I'm a champion.
Oh, so this next fight's going to be your first one at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And how was the weight cutting at super middle for you?
I think it was pretty hard. It's a little different from MMA, cutting that much. We can't do that. It was 12 rounds, and
no wrestling now. You don't gotta wrestle.
Exactly.
3-minute rounds.
You don't get hit in the head all the time. But
lots of punches there.
Yeah, I believe I'm gonna be stronger and better. I not only for the weight cut, I'm easier fighting bigger guys. I like bigger guys, slower, stronger, bigger guys. I like that. That's better for me.
And then you also don't gotta wrestle them and have them on top of you, and that's nice.
Yeah,
it's a shitty thing about fighting a really big, strong guy when they're on top of you and you're trying to get up. That's the worst.
And also the big money fights is that.
That's true.
Yeah, the
big money fights.
That's what I'm here for.
Light heavyweights pays better.
Yeah, but pays better because you got Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, and a couple of other up-and-coming good fighters. And at super middleweight, it was me and James DeGale, the top guys.
The guy that you really beat and got the draw from, James
So I'm
DeGale.
done in that weight class.
Even if he wanted to fight again, you wouldn't fight him. You're like, I beat this guy, knocked his teeth out. I want to move up to bigger and better things.
The plan was, like before the fight, we even said it before the fight, we're gonna move up to light heavyweight and challenge the champions over there, win, lose or draw. And I kept my draw. I kept my belt. I was still a champion, but we vacated it to move up for bigger and better things.
And would you say the biggest money fight at light heavyweight's got to be in Ward? He's the gold medalist. He's the big name. Or what do you think, Kovalev?
Nah, I'll probably say under Ward. Yeah. Yeah, I saw their fight. It was really close. I
thought Kovalev won.
I had
I'll say
it
it.
6 round each, but an extra point for the knockdown. So I had Kovalev by 1 point. But at the end of the fight, yeah, he didn't really do nothing.
Where are those two going now? Are they fighting each other again?
I think
or
they have a
what's
rematch.
next?
Yeah.
They're fighting each other. And do you have a match lined up in light heavyweight?
Not yet. They're working on it. Hopefully, we can get the other champion, Donna Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Get the fight lined up with a nice paycheck, and you're looking good. Start off the new year right.
Yep, that's the plan.
That's right. And win that one, and then there's the winner of the Ward Kovalev, and then winner takes all type of fight. Winner gets, winner's a millionaire.
When you look
type
at
fight.
the odds, does that are you affected when the odds makers say, "Oh, you're not the favorite in this fight. You're the underdog"?
I've been the underdog in my last 4 fights, and I came up. I won I had 2 draws, but I was a heavy underdog. I still won.
Yeah.
Became a champion. I defended my title.
So it drives you more.
Yeah, I like it. I said I would love to be the underdog in all my fights.
I like being the underdog too. The one thing I think the underdog has that a disadvantage is usually the guy who's favored has a bigger name, and a lot of times the judges pay a little more attention to him. And I think that's kind of what happened in your fights. Other guys were favored, and the judges had higher expectations for the other fighters, and they kind of gifted them a round here or there that cost. You a fight, and it goes down with a draw in your record book. Do you kind of ever feel like that?
It's possible, but I just like that people write me off. He ain't got no
Well, there's no
chance.
pressure.
There's no pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah.
And people, my friends and
Well, see,
family and fans can win money.
That's good information.
That's true.
I'll have to look at the next card he fights on. If he's a heavy underdog, you know which way I'm going.
A lot
Yeah.
of people won money on the last couple of fights.
When you fight, we're going to be here with the CG Sports technology with their app, and we're going to download that app. We're going to tell everybody to download that app so we can bet on you.
Sounds good.
That's right. So that's it this weekend. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman minus 200 favorite. Bado Jack likes Danny Garcia, even though Thurman's kind of slicker, the better boxer. He thinks Danny Garcia's gonna bring the pressure and make it his kind of fight.
And who are you taking?
I think at a 2-to-1 dog, I think it's worth busting open my CG Sports app and putting $50 on Danny Garcia. I think it's worth it.
No? You?
So.
I'm rooting for Danny Garcia, but I wouldn't be surprised if Thurman wins either. It's a 50-50.
Well, you gotta go with the 33-0 guy, especially when he's that big of an underdog.
Yeah, that's a big underdog, 33-0 against 27-0. A tough one to call, but those are pretty good odds for Garcia. I like the way he fights. I've always been a fan of his. The only thing I wasn't a fan of was his old man and his.
I wasn't a fan of that.
Him kind of stepping up and making those remarks. But I'll try not to hold that against Danny himself. I'd like to see Danny Garcia's old man possibly go in there and fight Floyd Mayweather's dad. What do you think?
That'd be a good fight.
Floyd Sr.? I got Floyd Sr. all the way. He still looks like he
He's
could.
in shape.
Oh, he eats Taco Bell every day and he's freaking ripped, man.
Who's training?
67 years old.
Lou DeVal, he's a former light heavyweight champion. Trainer.
Nice. So there you have it from Bado Jack, likes Danny Garcia, and I think he changed my mind too. I think that's worth the bet at minus 200 underdog to throw a little money on him here at the CG Sports Complex under the Palms banner.
That's about it. We're going to get into some UFC.
Yes, so Jack took a little time out of his day to come here and do the show, but he's got to get to Mayweather's gym so he could hear Roger Mayweather yelling at him. Look at, still too goddamn slow. Look how slow this mother is. That's what he used to say to me. So, thanks for coming by, Jack.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
All right.
Thank you,
Right.
sir.
Good luck at 175, man.
Thank
Looks
you.
like you won't be calling me for any weight cutting advice.
Nah.
All right.
Not this time. I'm gonna eat and feel good. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Tell Amir I have a few jokes for him next time.
All right. Nice to meet you. All right. Thanks. Good luck. Thank you. All right.
Now that was a great guy.
Hey, like a typical Swede, perfect gentleman.
Perfect gentleman. Didn't want to let loose.
Yep, just
Really?
like what Andreas' nickname, the Sweet Swede. What a sweet guy, that
Yeah.
Bad Jack.
I was hoping maybe he would, just
Yeah,
start calling
right?
out people.
Call out people, maybe talk a little crap about
Just-
how he got screwed over by the judges
Yeah,
and the
like,
racism
I
and
was
all
thinking,
that.
3 draws. All those judges.
Yeah, yes. And then Danny Garcia's old manager remarks about the racism and,
Yeah, Dewey Cooper wasn't too happy about those race remarks.
Right? But the way he said it, I was a little surprised. I was expecting to hear more like UF and N-word rather than
Yeah, it was-
use a bitch, mother N-word, this and that.
Yeah, it was more of this street
type of,
slang type, probably how they talk to each other in
but
the hood,
yeah, nonetheless, racist remarks, and he
Hey, but what
definitely
changes all
hates
that is
immigrants.
those odds. I think I like the odds.
Yeah, the changes that is the odds.
That changed my mind a little bit.
And I do like the way Danny Garcia fights. He's my type of fighter. He's a pressure fighter. He doesn't mind getting hit, and he moves forward a lot. Very exciting guy. Yeah, I was pulling him in from this fight till I heard that come out of his father. Then I started kind of thinking, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Keith Thurman win. But once I saw the odds today when I came here to the Palm Sportsbook, I was like, hey, at -200, I got to go with Danny Garcia.
And I was thinking, maybe since he was Puerto Rican, nobody would get so offended.
Right?
If it was one of us saying it, we would probably,
yeah.
it would have probably got real bad.
Oh, yeah. We'd be in jail right now or something.
Yeah.
So, there's a Bellator Friday, but honestly, I kind of looked at it and no, I was kind of turned off.
Your interest?
I was kind of turned off on the last Bellator card. So, to be honest with you, I think it really bothered me to see Koscheck get blown out of the water like that against the guy who really was handpicked for him. And it really bothered me that he got dropped with the right hand, stunned, and he still forgot he was a NCAA Division I national champ wrestler. And he still didn't even try to go for a take, despite what Phil Baroni said that he has a bad neck. Yeah, you could still take that guy down at will. I don't care.
Speaking, like John Fitch, he had little tings in his neck during some training, and but he.
Yeah, once he gets in there, right?
Once he got in there, he was back to
it
his
didn't
old
matter.
self,
Yep.
So,
ding neck or not.
That was a bad card for us. I mean, I thought I had that card in the bag.
I know.
I did a 5-teamer on that, or a 5-pick parlay. I lost the first one right out the gate.
Well, UFC 209 coming up, and there's some interesting fights on this main card. Most notably, finally the return of Rashad Evans. He couldn't get his medical clearance in New York. He couldn't get his medical clearance. Where was that, in Canada? And now, finally, in the great state of Nevada, he gets medically cleared to take this fight. His first time at 185 pounds, and he's, I believe, 39 years old. So I usually don't like seeing guys drop a weight class this late in their career. Usually I don't like it, but Rashad, he's a guy who I remember even when we fought, he didn't cut too much weight, and he was coming down from heavyweight. And, because I did my homework and how much does Rashad weigh, he's at 212 already. So he hasn't been cutting too much weight here at light heavyweight. And I hear he's made the weight practice-wise on more than one occasion. So it won't even be like his first time making this weight. And this opponent, Daniel Kelly, is really handpicked for him. He's got a good record. He's 12-1. I think he's 4-1 in the UFC. His lone loss was a knockout loss to Sam Alvey. He got hit with a big shot. He's an Olympic judo guy, okay? But against Rashad Evans, NCAA Division I wrestler, Rashad's a hell of a wrestler. I know firsthand experience.
Does the judo hold up to the
American wrestling?
College wrestling.
I mean, I know. I thought, hey, it might, so I wanted to check out this Daniel Kelly's fights.
You're not talking about a young wrestler. You're talking about...
No, a guy who's near 40 years old, and Daniel Kelly. And, yeah, he's four-time Olympian, something crazy like that. But just looking at his UFC fights, his takedowns really haven't impressed me at all. Honestly, he's not going to be able to take Rashad down. I tell you this right now, Daniel Kelly will not take Rashad down. Rashad's going to take Daniel Kelly down, and Daniel Kelly will be like a fish on his back, like most judo guys are. And once Rashad gets that side control, Sergio Pena was impressed with Rashad Evans' side control. So he's got excellent side control. He stopped Tito Ortiz with it. And once he gets that takedown, gets Daniel Kelly in side control, I'm telling you it's going to be checkmate, and that's why I like Rashad in this fight.
So you think this fight's going to the ground the whole time? Is that...
No, I think Rashad, anywhere, like in the words of Nick Blomgren, anywhere where Rashad wants to take this fight, it's his. I think he's got Daniel Kelly standing up. Daniel Kelly's pretty slow and awkward standing up. He's not slick. He doesn't move his head a whole hell of a lot. Rashad, much slicker hands, much slicker stand up. But I think the easier time, if you just want to make the night easy for yourself, and you got a good side control. I've done this a couple times. Take the guy down, get in that heavy side control where he's helpless, and the fight's yours. So I think Rashad's probably going to pick him apart on his feet, but when he has that chance to put him on his back, he's going to take it.
Well, I noticed that Rashad in his last few fights just doesn't pull the trigger while he's standing up. So,
no, he hasn't. He hasn't. But
I'm wondering if the other guy's looking at that.
But then again, look at who he was fighting. He was fighting some studs at light heavyweight. He got KO. His last fight was a knockout loss to Glover Teixeira.
Right.
And I'm checking out his record right now. And, his big highlight victory was that knockout of Chuck Liddell. But that was a long time ago. So let's check him out right now. Here he is. Yeah, he lost that decision to Ryan Bader. That's a fight he wasn't pulling the trigger in.
Yeah, he wasn't
pulling the trigger in that.
He was just kind of following him around.
And then he heard everyone saying that, so he went out there and pulled the trigger with Glover Teixeira and ended up getting knocked out. But that fight,
Glover made him rethink a weight division, huh?
Yeah, he did. That fight was almost a year ago. He before that he has win over Chael Sonnen, Dan Henderson, a loss to Rogerio Nogueira, a loss to John Jones. He needs this win. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's lost 4 of his last 6 fights, but his first fight down here at 185, this opponent's handpicked for him. I think he could beat him on his feet. I think he's going to pull the trigger a little more. This guy's not as dangerous as someone like Glover is or someone like Ryan Bader is. Not that type of power. And also, I don't think this guy's ground skills compare.
As cautious.
No, he doesn't need to be as cautious. I think he
was real cautious with the bigger guys. They hit harder.
Yeah, he kind of need to be. So I think this is a good fight for him. And, the way, Rashad, season 2 champion, back in late 2005, early 2000s. I fought him in 2006. So yeah, he won the season 2. So, and he won the title from Forrest way back, I think 2009. So you think about it, they ripped up that contract once he won that title, gave him a new contract. He's been making some pretty nice money now for a while. So it's on the UFC's best interest to get him a win here at 185 and put him in a big fight. So I think we're going to see him win here. I'm looking forward to those odds coming out on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure there'll be at least 3 or 4 to 1 favor of Rashad. So, but that's a pretty safe bet in that fight. Also on the card, a couple unknowns relatively. Lando Venata against David Tamer, I think they pronounce it. David Tamer. So, David Tamer is only 5-1. He, if you look at his record, you see a lot more fights than that. He was on season 22 of The Ultimate Fighter. He lost the majority decision to Marcin Rozosek on that, and his only other loss was his very first fight of his career. And he's a 4-time kickboxing champion, and of all places, Sweden.
Well, that's what that spinning back kick did in his last fight, right? Wasn't
No, that was the guy he's fighting. That was Lando Venata.
Oh, he landed
So
the spinning.
he landed the spinning high kick. So David Timur, 5-1. He's a Swedish guy though, 4-time kickboxing champion. Yeah, and he's fighting Lando Venata, and I like this Lando Venata. He's the guy who knocked out John McDessie with that spinning high kick in his last fight.
That's why I was looking at it, but I was looking at it backwards. You know?
And Lando Venata's fight before that was his first UFC fight on short notice. He got in there and fought Tony Ferguson and almost knocked him out. He hurt him with a spinning back fist, hurt him with punches, and then really dropped him with a high kick and almost finished him. Tony's so good at getting up and flopping back down, kicking up, and Tony was hurt.
Yeah,
he fell down like 2 or 3 times. The ref was close to stopping that fight, but Tony, 6'1" at that weight class, has some long arms, had him in a standing guillotine, switched it under to the head and arm choke, and ended up finishing Lando Venata with the head and arm choke. But an excellent performance by Venata nonetheless. On less than 2 weeks' notice. So I like Venata in this one, and I think, you like the way this guy fights too. He's relaxed in there. He moves his head well. He relaxes. He rolls with punches.
It could be a little bit of a stand-up, flashy karate fight.
It's definitely going to be a flashy type of fight. Flashy karate fight. Expect some spin kicks. Lando Venata, he throws more jumping kicks and spinning kicks than the kickboxer David Tamer. And I like him in this fight. I'm anxious to see what these odds are. I think they'll be pretty close. I'm picking Lando Venata. He's probably going to be a slight favorite, maybe minus 150 or something.
Yeah,
but,
I really like that guy.
But I like the way he fights. He's tough, and he's going to come in good cardio. He trains up at altitude at Jackson's camp, and those guys never get tired. I've fought in a few of them in my career, and third rounds have always been good with the Jackson's guy. So, and for my favorite, Mark Hunt fights yet another guy who's been suspected of using performance enhancements in the past, and Alistar over.
I heard he just eats horse meat.
Right?
That's what I heard.
Because there is. Horses have a lot of creatine in their muscles. So,
Is that a way to get away with it?
And I mean, I know Alistar once showed a elevated testosterone level of 17-1. It's supposed to not be over 4-1, so it's just about over 4 times what the legal limit is. But he says that's could definitely happen from eating horse meat, and I believe him.
Well, it depends on what side they were shooting the horse on.
And do you think this is the UFC's way of kind of saying, all right, Mark Hunt, you're going to slap a lawsuit on us for because you keep fighting these guys who fail these tests of performance enhances, so we're going to give you Alistar, like the poster child for TRT.
I remember when Alistar fought Chuck Liddell, he was only like 205.
Yeah, 205.
And the next time I seen him, he's like this monster.
Yeah.
Kareem.
The late bloomer. But remember, these two guys fought a while back, and Alistar handled him pretty easily. I think, Alistar, that wasn't the 205 Alistar, that's for sure. So Alistar was pretty husky. He took his legs out with a nice low kick, got on the ground, and hooked him up. It looked like straight armbar, but he cranked it and turned into a shoulder lock and submitted Mark Hunt relatively easy in the first round. But since then, Mark Hunt's ground game has got a lot wiser. He's a lot harder to submit, and he's got a build. No neck, short arms. He's a guy that's going to be hard to submit now that his fundamentals are down. And also now that Alistar, I believe, is probably being rigorously tested by anti-doping USADA for this fight. I don't think he's going to be chemically enhanced, and I'd really like to see Mark Hunt pull this fight out.
Yeah, I would like to see Mark. I've wrapped Mark's hands a few times in the fights. He's got some big hands.
Yeah,
just for
Super
that,
Samoan paws.
just because I wrapped his hands a few times, I like to see him win this fight.
I like him better.
If he hits Overeem,
Overeem will quit.
He's not known for a good chin.
No, not a good chin and no heart too. Just a hell of a talent. But as of lately, Overeem's been the hotter guy. He's won 4 of his last 5 fights, including wins over Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Andre Arlovsky, and the most impressive performance I've ever seen him in was against Junior Dos Santos. He stopped Dos Santos in the second round, and I was surprised, and I was really impressed by that performance. But on the other hand, Junior, that's after his wars with Kane that have probably taken lives off his life. So is Junior the same fighter as he used to be after 10 rounds with Cain Velasquez? He's getting a title shot. So, I just don't think he's the same guy.
If he beats Overeem, it looks like there's a title shot in line for Mark Hunt.
That would be nice. He did.
This fight opened a pick. They bet it all the way up to Overeem minus 140. So the bettors really.
I say we bring Matt in.
The bettor's like Overeem in this fight.
Yeah,
we have the odds maker Matthew Holt here in studio giving him advice. But why don't we put him on for the end of the show? And
he didn't wear his favorite shirt.
So.
He didn't wear a yellow shirt, so we weren't going to let him come on.
Yeah.
So your
get the memo.
Your thoughts on Junior Dos Santos, though? Do you think he's the same guy? I mean, he just after this the fights with Cain Velasquez, he hasn't seemed the same in there. His fight, especially losing to Overeem, especially his fight with Miocic.
I didn't think he was, but he beat the current heavyweight champion of the world. Before Stipe, it was hard to find a champion who had even defended that title.
Even once.
Even once. And now Stipe's defended that title by knocking out Overeem. And Junior Dos Santos looked really good against Stipe, looked really good against dangerous Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell's a big guy, really strong, dangerous on the feet and the ground, and JDS picked him apart for 5 rounds. So, I think JDS, when he's fighting his game, which is speed, footwork, getting in and out, and not as much ground game, he looked really good against Miocic, really good against Big Ben Rothwell, but as you saw when he got caught by Overeem, that chin that failed him against Velasquez the second time, they showed up again against Overeem.
That's true. Now, you're saying if Junior wins this fight, he could be onto a title shot against...
It's done.
He's getting the title shot with Fabricio.
No, with Miocic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, with
May 11th is that's the pay-per-view in May.
Stipe Miocic
versus Junior Dos Santos.
And
I thought it was deserving because I didn't know who else they'd give it to besides Verdum. But they signed Verdum to fight Kane, so at that point,
and we've been talking about the matchmaking lately.
Yeah,
a little bit all over the
It's
place.
Like it's not. It doesn't seem the same as.
It's not
Joe
as
Silva
consistent.
matchmaking,
Definitely.
And we
not
saw
as
it
fluid.
again on this card.
Is that the new matchmaker, or is that Sean Shelby matching?
I say blame it on the new guy.
Blame it on the new guy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm sure Sean Shelby's still in talks with Joe Silva and gets advice from him.
Yeah.
I know I would. I know they're good friends, and they had a good relationship that whole time.
But we see it on every card. There's just a little inconsistency.
Usually they had it broken down where Silva handled these heavier guys and Shelby handled these lower guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, before we get to the 2 main fights, that being the Woodley Thompson fight and the Ferguson Khabib fight, I wanted to hear your thoughts on Mark Hunt versus Alistair Overeem.
I actually thought it was a pick'em fight just because of Overeem's chin, which we have seen him fail him time after time again in the heavyweight division, especially in the UFC. Mark Hunt, who has a granite chin and punches like a Mack truck.
Not to mention the heart.
That's right. He's going to hang in there.
He's not.
But we have seen Mark Hunt get picked apart by people. JDS picked apart Mark Hunt, and he has trouble with fast guys, and Overeem at times when he stays on his feet can be that guy. He can't get hit, right?
Yeah, he can't get hit, and you really can't push the pace too much either on him.
That's right.
Yeah, he likes to fight
He
his own
tries to
pace. A
end it
lot of
early.
pressure, he'll crack under pressure.
Yeah, he tries to get the fight going too fast.
Yeah. And
What might favor Overeem in this one, which has failed him in a couple of his big main events and title fights, is this a 3-rounder and not a 5-rounder? Because it's hard for him to go 5, I think.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. And his 3-rounders that he's won by decision have been kind of snooze fest, like against Frank Mir, where they took a lot of rest time, the both of them.
Yeah.
They kind of both conceded to say,
two
okay, let's not
guys
fight
that
it too
don't like to
fast
go
a pace. Yeah,
hard rounds.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right, now the dark horse on this card, you really like this Mirsad Bektic. He's fighting Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins, rugged veteran, tough Indiana boy with a good chin, but fundamentally standing up, he has a lot of holes, and you think this Mirsad could pick him apart.
Yeah, I mean, look, Darren Elkins has kind of been the gatekeeper at 135 for a long time now, and respectfully so. He's earned that right to be kind of ranked, but can't really get to the top. Bektic was the prime contender in the 135-pound division before getting hurt, and then what we saw was a surge of young guys kind of come up and pass him because of the injury. Thomas Almeida, who was red hot for a while, and now, of course, Cody Garbrandt, who's as white hot as any fighter we've ever seen, come up just as hot as anybody. And Bektic kind of became the lost guy due to injuries, but he came back from injury, looked really strong in his first fight back, and now he's got that one fight back from injury under him.
That makes a big difference. He was out for 18 months with a neck injury. That's a serious injury. And that's right, that first fight back is the one you really worry about. He already had that fight, shake out the cobwebs, and he looked great.
Yeah, so I think this is one where they both have similar styles. Bektic's younger, stronger, faster, bigger. It's probably going to be a tough night for Darren Elkins.
Better defense, too. So, it seems like the UFC gave Bektic this fight to help him showcase his skills.
And it makes sense, actually, this one. As a young guy, not quite, just breaking the rankings, young, undefeated, you get the guy who's always been known as the gatekeeper to the top.
That's true. Whereas, on the contrary, a fight that doesn't make as much sense is Yuri Alcantara. He's fighting Luke Sanders. And Alcantara, this guy's been around forever. He's been a top 10 guy for a long time. And this fight is kind of like, doesn't do much for him, huh?
I just don't understand the concept, and we saw it last week with Glover Teixeira, and I like to call these lose-lose situations, and you would know better than I, Stephan, if it really is, but you're a consistent guy, you've been fighting the best guys in the world, you want to keep fighting the best guys in the world, especially as your career gets going. Like Glover Teixeira, 37 years old, he doesn't want to be fighting knock-ranked guys in a lose-lose like he was in with Jared Cannonier in the last card. And same thing here for Yuri Alcantara. This is a guy that fought Uriah Faber, fought a lot of the top guys, and now all of a sudden he's in there with a guy who's young, undefeated, and has one UFC fight under his belt.
Yeah, and I saw a little news clip on him last night. They were blowing him up for the Channel 5 News.
Yuri?
No,
Sanders.
Oh, Sanders, because he's a local guy.
They did a nice little news push on him. He's the 11-0 guy, and trying to give him a little fire,
A little hometown love here, fighting here in Vegas. And if you guys haven't seen the Yuri Alcantara versus Uriah Faber fight, check that out. The first half of that fight, he just tears Faber a new one on the ground. He just has him in all sorts of bad positions. And this is one of the things I love about fight. This is, I think, my favorite fight from Uriah Faber. Why? Because he just shows how far good submission defense could take you. If it were a point match, he would have been down 20 points to nothing, but he showed really good submission defenses. He has amazing cardio, and he was able to really turn the heat up the second half of the fight and pull the decision out. But that first half of the fight, I was like, wow, this Alcantara guy, his ground game is for real.
And he can punch. I mean, his stand-up game is almost as good as his ground game.
His total game's for real.
Yeah.
But I just never seen anyone handle Uriah like that on the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Very impressed with that. So other than that, I think we should talk about the main event and the co-main event. Co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib
that is a fight.
Big
I'm looking
favorite in
forward
this
to.
fight could be -210. So if you're going with Khabib in this fight, it's kind of hard to make money. You got to put up, $210 to make 100. So
Well, you just got to do a parlay then.
parlay Nick.
And we talked about it before the show, and I think it's interesting for people watching the show. If you don't understand the betting odds and what I'm going to bet Tony Ferguson in this fight and what betting value means. In this case, if these two fought each other 12 times and you bet Khabib at that price of -210, in order for you to make money in those 12 fights, Khabib would have to win 9 of them. And I just don't feel like Khabib is that far ahead of Tony to where he would go 9-3 in 12 fights against Tony Ferguson. If you told me he would go 7-5, I'd say, okay, that's possible. But 9-3, I don't see it. And if you don't believe that Khabib Nurmagomedov would win 9 of 12 fights against Tony Ferguson, then you have to bet Tony Ferguson because that's where the value is.
Right.
So yeah, in this fight, I like Khabib too, but at -210, it's going to be hard for me to put any money on him.
Well, I'm going to have to do the parlay on that one.
But don't you think that Tony could really exploit some of the weaknesses that Khabib has shown?
you know,
definitely.
I saw
Like
the Michael Johnson.
Khabib standing up, like
Right, hitting the chin,
right?
that wobble, that
Yeah.
last fight.
But then Tony too, in that last fight against Venata, he almost got.
He goes for it. Tony
does go for it, but
he leaves himself open.
He
going
ate
for
that chin full force to the
He did.
forehead, and
He did.
he was damn near knocked
did.
out. So both of these
But
guys,
Michael Johnson hit Khabib clean and had him rocked. And if
Yeah.
Tony hits him clean,
just with hands. It's
Yeah.
one thing to eat a shin to the head, but,
Yeah, that's
but just
right.
hands, So
And Tony's really what some people don't underestimate too is that Tony cuts a lot of people with standing elbows. He actually uses standing elbows in standing up because he's so long. He can throw an elbow like some people with shorter arms throw a punch, and all of a sudden you get a big gash. The fight gets
Yeah.
weird, and
that's another point. A lot of people don't realize how tall Khabib or Tony is
is.
for that weight class. He's 6'1", fighting at 155
And long,
pounds.
yeah.
So and he uses that
Long
length
and
well.
bony.
That's
And
right.
bony, and he fights from both sides well,
Those
and he's
bones
really
get
durable.
away, you start
Cut
getting
them
king
all
with
up.
those.
Yeah.
So he's really durable, and I think the 5 rounds kind of plays to his favor in this fight. He looked great in that last 5-rounder against Dos Anjos.
Yeah.
And his cardio looked great. He was really pouring it on that 5th round. So, yeah, I think Matt's right. If you're betting money, the value's in Tony Ferguson at a -210 underdog. And also, I think a little value lies in Woodley because Stephen Thompson is a -145 favorite in this fight. Does this surprise you?
This is one of the rare times in UFC, and I've been making odds on UFC for a long time, since way back when Tito was a champion in the UFC. That's how long I've been making odds in the UFC. So it's been a while.
Wow.
So one of the interesting things that we never see in the UFC is that the odds in a rematch are almost the same exact odds as in the first fight. In the first fight, Wonderboy Thompson opened around -160, -165, and the bettors liked Woodley at that underdog price. And now this time we opened it closer, and they bet Thompson, and we're ending up around the same price. Thompson around 145.
I understood that in the first fight. I understood. I had Thompson my parlay in that first fight. I had him picked in that fight. But after seeing the fight, I was like, oh boy, like Thompson's lucky to have pulled out a draw on this. He was damn near knocked out. He was damn near choked out. If Woodley, in retrospect, didn't slap that choke on, just tried to finish with hands, I think he would have had him out of there.
I think he would have had him.
But he didn't. He went for that choke. But it looked good at the time. I think 9 out of 10 guys would have tapped out from that. It looked tight. And Woodley's strong as hell. He may have burned his arms out a little bit. But he seemed to have Stephen Thompson's number.
Yep.
No one's ever done that to Thompson before. And really, all he has to do is fight the exact same way. And I think this fight's his. So.
I thought at times, though, they both looked like their strengths exploited the other's weaknesses, because there were a couple of rounds in that fight where Thompson got his distance right, And then he was picking Woodley apart. Woodley would charge in, and Thompson would catch him with the counter, and the footwork was really good. And when they were at his distance, it was Woodley who was winning. But when Woodley closed that gap, he dominated. So I think it's a fight that's all about distance. If Wonder Boy can keep it at his distance, he was really effective at fight run. But if Woodley closes the gap on him, he's the heavier puncher, stronger guy, better wrestler.
And that seemed to be the big difference. Thompson usually hurts guys that he hits with those punches.
And he did hit him a couple times clean, and Woodley didn't go
It
anywhere.
did not look like he hurt Woodley in that fight, whereas Woodley's punches seemed to hurt Stephen Thompson. That's what I thought the big difference was. So really
Woodley's
interesting
huge
match.
at welterweight.
Oh my
He's
God,
a
that
monster
guy's a
at
freak,
welterweight,
man.
yeah.
And he hits hard.
Yes, he's one of the best right hands in that division. Maybe the best.
And I read some today. He was one of the most tested fighters of 2016, and rightfully so. Like that guy just looks like
He's a monster.
he's a cartoon character.
Yeah,
like his
he is a
muscles are just
monster.
painted on. Yeah, what a freak, genetic athletic freak.
You know, it's because of guys that look like him at 170 that you hear rumors of GSP maybe going to fight Bisping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Find an easier way.
That's an interesting point you made because I think I'd put my money on Woodley.
Oh man, he's just so
right.
I mean, and they're both
GSP
wrestlers.
hurt
So,
him.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's good, but he's a way bigger puncher than GSP.
yeah,
That's for sure.
a lot bigger. Right in his prime too. I mean,
Yeah, he's really come into his own. Duke Rufus really prepared him right for that first fight. He didn't bite on a lot of Thompson's fakes. He didn't get sucked into those blitzes. And he just stayed back and waited for that one chance to strike. And when he did, it counted.
Right? He has to put his head in his chest in order to
Yeah.
catch that chin because Thompson always
Yeah,
got his chin in
he
the air, and
fights
when
tall.
he goes backwards, he fights chin in the air. So I think you were. I told you if he would just put his head in his chest, he would knock this guy out. Remember when we were watching the
Yep.
fight? Yeah. That's what he's got to do this time. He's got to get that head in the chest while he's going backwards, go to the body, and finish to the head.
Well, although I'm a huge fan of just Thompson's style of fighting, spin kicks, a guy who doesn't look like he's chiseled out of granite, and just normal genetics. And yeah, although my heart's with Thompson, my money is with Woodley, especially being an underdog this fight. Like I said, Thompson minus 145 favorite right now. So, hey, I think it makes sense if you're the smart money on Tyrone Woodley in this fight. Also, the smart money, like Matt said, is on Tony Ferguson and at minus 210 favorite and Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's going to be hard to make some money betting on Khabib. So, smart money's on Tony as well. Also on the card, I'm really pulling for Mark Hunt. I just don't care for Overeem. He's been a better fighter as of lately.
and that price went a little weird. I'll be honest. I thought because of Mark Hunt's popularity and his punching power that this is a fight that opened a dead pick'em, and now it's Overeem 140. I kind of had a feeling it might go the other way, but it didn't.
So you think this is kind of a gift?
I think there's some value in Hunt. I think the fight was a dead pick'em, which is right where we opened him, but there a lot of money came in on Overeem to move it to him 140, and I get that he's a little younger, but he's not as the age difference isn't as big as people think, and the chin is heavily favors Hunt, the punching power heavily favors Hunt,
And the heart heavily favors Hunt.
so I mean, I
Chin,
think there's a lot of
heart,
cases.
punching power. That's a lot in my book.
Yeah.
Also on the main card, Daniel Kelly, hand-picked opponent for Rashad Evans. Rashad should have his way with him. And finally, Lando Venata, a guy that's impressed me. I like him in beating the Swedish fighter David Tamer.
And one fight that I will say you may want to take a peek at this week if you're going to be betting, and we talked about the whole UFC 209 card, is the main event of the Bellator card with the women's fight in the
Julia
that's right.
Budd.
yeah, Julia
yeah.
Budd. I mean, she really is a veteran. She's fought some
And
tough,
Marlos
tough
Conan.
people.
So, the women's
like
title
Julia
fight
Budd.
in Bellator.
I mean, Bud's fought Rousey and Justino. I mean, she's been in there with some. I mean, Amanda Nunez. So I mean, she's been in there with some tough girls, Bud.
That's right. I gave shined a little light on Bellator. I forgot to bring up the main event. Yeah, it's a women's title fight at 145 pounds. Julia Budd
We're
against
looking
Marlos
forward to
Conan.
seeing Julia Budd win that.
Yeah,
We've seen
she's
her
She trains
Underdog
at One
Price,
Kicks
yeah,
Gym.
yeah.
She's one of
Oh, she does?
Dewey Cooper's
Awesome.
fighters. And you'll see Dewey in her corner on that card Friday night. And we like her in this fight.
That's right.
I like her. I think it's a
you
good
think
spot.
she's fought
Yeah.
the tougher girls?
I mean, her only losses are who? To Amanda Nunes, Ronda Rousey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty tough
Yeah.
girls.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So,
And look, Marlon's been around. I mean, she's been around for a while, but when you look at her resume, she's lost to every top
Yeah.
girl she ever fought. And they tried to highlight her in Bellator, and she lost her last fight. I mean, sometimes you just lose it at some point.
and very rarely do you get a title shot after a
Off the
loss.
loss.
And
Yeah.
when they inaugurate the weight class, that's a good chance to get it.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that 145-pound division for the women's in UFC.
Right?
I
Yeah.
think they have to run it back. 'Cause what else are you going to do with it right now?
I know.
There's just no contenders.
Well, Cyborg looks like she's getting acquitted.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how that's going to go because they said the same thing about John. Oh, it's not going to be as bad as
Yeah,
everyone thinks.
that's
It's going to
true.
be fine. It's still 12 months.
That's
You're
true.
going to hold the title up for 10 more months.
Yeah.
I mean, but nobody would complain if you ran that fight back. It was
No,
close
it was a good
enough,
fight.
and the
Yeah,
lack of
it's true.
point deduction probably.
Nice head kick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
I mean,
some
the
good
best
stuff
punch
going
that
on.
landed definitely landed after
It
the
was.
bell.
Holmes definitely got to make some adjustments.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
we just
she's
look
got to go
forward
to the
to
drawing
the
board.
to the after the bell punches.
That one.
Two in
That
a
one
row.
was maybe the
That
best punch
rocked her,
that landed. Yeah.
Was that an elbow?
No, it was a punch,
That was the punch.
but it was way late. It was just way late.
So there you have it. Big boxing this Saturday. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. Should be a good one. I think
Somebody's O must go.
yeah.
somebody's
yeah.
almost
Battle of the
done.
undefeateds.
I guess we're going with the underdog on that one.
Yeah, I like Danny. I do. I just like his style better. So I'm taking him. Then we got Friday night. We got the Bellator. Julia Budd, Marlos Conan or
I
Conan.
think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
And we like Julia Budd in that
Budd.
one.
yeah.
Julia Budd.
You'll get a good underdog price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Dewey Cooper girl, and finally the UFC 209 Saturday night here at T-Mobile Arena, and the values on Tony Ferguson, the values on Woodley. I like Mark Hunt. I think Rashad Evans gets a gift, and in the final main card fight, Lando Venata, I'm picking him over David Tamer. Anyone beg to differ?
No, the only other fight I think where you might get some value is Paul Craig and Tyron Pedro. It's another fight kind of buried on the undercard, and they're both
Yeah, it
the
is.
exact same kind of fighters. They both have like one knockout and all submission wins. And Craig's bigger, stronger, a little bit faster, might be a little better at submissions. One of those situations, two guys that do the same thing, one's a little better everywhere.
So there you have it. Full weekend of fights coming up. Friday, Saturday, and boxing Saturday, UFC 209 Saturday, and Bellator Friday. And we're going to be back on Monday to go over some of these picks and hopefully help me and Nick count our winnings.
That's right. And we'd like to thank Badoo Jack for stopping by.
And Bitcoin Direct for sponsoring us, as well as CG Sports for having us here at the Palms. For Matthew Holt and Nick Blomgren, I'm Stephan Bonnar saying, see you next week on the final round.